Whoever this was, he got trapped in here. He died trying to claw his way out.
In an air vent. Shocking way to go.
A lighter. Apparently gifted to a mother.
Well, only one woman on the crew.
Finlay? But the body looked male.
Maybe she lent it to him.
I doubt we'll ever know.
So, we're about a year out from my complete Still Wakes the Deep retrospective. And now, it's not so complete. The Chinese room are at it again with another journey to the cursed oil rig. And so, my video's title became a lie. So now I look to solve that. For now, provided they don't just release more DLC to keep making me return to this nightmare. But seriously, I'm happy to be back into the world of Still Wakes the Deep. This is one of my favorite games of this generation, and it shows that the horror genre is alive and well, turning what feels at times like a walking sim into a panic-inducing fight for survival. I finished this DLC about 3 weeks ago as of when I'm writing this, so I've had some time to really think about it, and it's absolutely worth the purchase if you enjoyed the main game. This won't be like my usual retrospectives, as it isn't a full game, and there's not a lot for me to cover regarding the production of this. The game sold well enough that they felt it was worth putting more into the story, and that's really all there is to it. So with that out of the way, let's jump into the story of the Sirens Rest. When we ended Still Wakes the Deep, everyone died. The rig went down when Kaz blew the whole thing to try and stop the nightmare that they woke up from getting off the rig. It was a noble sacrifice in a no-win situation. But there's always more to the story. The people who passed away had families, they had friends, people back home who were left with only questions, as the rig was now on the bottom of the cold ocean floor. This situation left collateral damage. Kaz was just one of those who left his loved ones behind to pick up the pieces. And at the start of Sirens Rest, a little over 10 years had passed since the events of the main game. Now, we're going back to try to figure out just what happened on that day. We play as Mary Brody, the daughter of Albert Brody, who we met in the main game. She's part of a small crew heading out to explore the wreckage of the rig. The game opens up with her sitting inside the dive bell talking to Hans, who is up above communicating with her and going over the operations before they begin. Rob, another member of the crew, is outside prepping and scouting the area. We can look around and the graphics here are still realistic and cold, just like in the original game. I've always loved the art style of the main game, with everything looking realistic. And we've kept that all here. The handwritten bits on the wall look like they were really handwritten, and it's easy to get into this world. And after looking around, it's time to dive. As soon as we get into the water, we see Rob standing there looking down over the area, and the graphics here are intense. The water is really convincing, even seeing small particles in it. And that's enough procrastination. It's time to go exploring and find out what happened a decade ago. We depart from the ledge that we're on, and we have to go clear the trench. We can explore here, but the game does have ways to keep us from getting too far off course. So, we follow the sight of the flares in the distance as the two speak. When we get to the other side, there's pieces of the rig strewn about. It's a wild sight, and it drew me in until...
Wait, descend, no!
Yeah, back on task. Exploring the wreckage gives us a reminder of how massive the rig was, despite the claustrophobic feeling when you were exploring it. We eventually come to a door and break into the old remains to really start the adventure. Our job here is to collect any relics of interest and to take pictures to document the deceased crew that we find, hoping that our exploration will let us learn a little more about what happened. The first thing we find is a picture that's in surprisingly good shape, already a bit disarming as we explore. Busting down doors and swimming through the submerged ship is pretty interesting. We come across the deputy deck office and learn that the photo we found was likely Corvin's, before pushing further inside. The rust and damage from the ocean on this structure is wild, and as we turn a corner, our first body. Now, we're only supposed to document the bodies and absolutely do not disturb them, so we can only piece together what bits we can from everything around. Taking the pictures, though, to document his death feels terrible. But I know that we're doing this to try and tell the story of what happened, to give some dignity and honor to those who lost their lives here. And knowing that there are people who are sent to these types of scenes for real, it's a lot to think about. But we have to keep going. The way everything is strewn about just illustrates the violence with which the BRD was sent under the waves when Kaz blew it up. It wasn't a sinking, it was a violent destruction. Every space we enter makes me more nervous, wondering what we'll discover. And when Mary sees a lifeboat, I think back to seeing those very boats falling into the ocean and how terrifying and demoralizing it was. And when she finds the life jackets and realizes that nobody ever got to the boats, I think to Kaz when he saw the boats fall, cutting him off as he was desperately trying to evacuate. The terror and fear that the crew felt lingering in the back of my mind. I'm thankful for Mary that she doesn't have to deal with all of that as she explores. Thankful that she hasn't seen the nightmares that the crew, that her father had to face. We head out of the area where we found the lifeboat and we look around some more, seeing bits of rubble strewn all over. There's washing machines from the laundry room embedded in the ocean floor before we find the remains of the helicopter, seeing one of the crew there busted from the cockpit of the chopper. They are realizing that something terrible happened to the helicopter, and it just gives me flashbacks to that moment when tragedy struck. Having been a year since I played the game, I'm amazed at how vivid the memories are in my mind when Mary explores these bits. As if I had just beaten the game yesterday. The memories drawn in like they're fresh, as if I had them stored neatly away in the absolute disaster that is my mind. The details are what really stand out, and I know that I've spoken about them before, but seriously, this all looks as much like something that you would see in a big production documentary exploring the ocean as you'd imagine. And when we find the Hindu idol, I barely remember Sunil, and as they talk about his wife and what she and Sunil kept the idols for when he was away, it was a means to feel together while separated. It's heart-wrenching, as in the game we only really get to think about what's going on with Kaz, and now we're seeing a bit more about who the others were. They were people. The extra look at something bigger than ourselves really puts the sense of loss into perspective. It's after this that they explain that they've basically got more hose for this umbilical than we would ever run out of length for. Which does address that, thankfully, even if the cord does sometimes feel a bit obnoxious, it's nice that they at least tried to address it. From here, we find a cutting arc that helps us to bust away the buildup that sealed some of the doors. And after a little bit of struggling and ineptitude, I'm able to figure out what exactly I'm actually supposed to be doing. This took me a laughable amount of time to figure out, but thankfully, I did eventually get it and was able to proceed. Look, I love games, and that doesn't mean that I'm necessarily good at them. But once inside, I started to worry a bit. It was so much darker here, and they used the build-ups on things to help mark areas to check out, which was a clever way to include that gameplay. Holding your hand, but not necessarily holding it tight. We learn a bit more of what we can do here, moving a filing cabinet to head in deeper. And when things fell, I immediately turned back, checking around behind me, and procrastinating as I remembered this is a horror game, not just a suspenseful swimming simulator. But this atmosphere had my heart rate up from this part through most of the rest of the game. And while searching, I discovered a cross before heading back in deeper. From there, we head down a terrifying hallway before coming upon a board on the wall and discussing old Rennick a little bit.
Tough management.
What was the name of the site manager?
David Rennick. Main man in the rig. Ruled with an iron fist, apparently.
So have his office been near you?
No, he had a perch up top.
That's all ominous.
Yeah, but, I met his twin grandkids. Rennick was meant to care for them that Christmas, but Cadal had put him on notice for under-delivery. So he stayed here with everyone else, and they all paid the ultimate price.
Yeah, fair play.
We learned that Rennick was forced to stay on the rig and missed out on spending Christmas with his grandkids. No wonder he was in such a foul mood. It just goes to show that you never really know what someone else is going through. Which is a lesson that I try to remember and too often fail to adhere to. And just as I was reflecting on that, the light shifted. Something moves past, and I nearly shut the game off. Mary doesn't realize it yet, but we are not alone down here. We head in another route, moving deeper and pulling away some steel bars before moving into a collapsed room.
My God, whole room's collapsed down here.
How far?
3 floors, 4?
Sounds like a shortcut.
Yeah, down the rabbit hole I go.
And down the rabbit hole is more accurate than she knows. The exploration here is intense, seeing how everything is twisted not sure what was caused by the explosion, by the fall, or by the shape, which I learned after the first video was the name given for whatever this eldritch horror was that had taken over the rig. We're in an unstable area now, and the sounds of metal pinging as we swim create so much tension, leading to a cave-in where we end up cut off from where we had been. That thrill woke me up and added so much extra tension and just about gave me a heart attack. Now, there's no heading back. There's nothing to do here, but we see where a wall has been ripped open, giving us glimpses back to that day. But something that they have no way of knowing about from what we've seen so far. There's a foreboding with every foot that we progress into this wreckage, making me want to go back into the original game and experience it again. Something I'm sure to do before too much longer. And as we enter a hole, we find another body trapped in a room. And Mary can tell that he's reaching down for something, seeing the struggle of his final moments. And he's covered in some reef-like material that may or may not be connected to that evil that took over the rig a decade ago. Now, I don't think the side rooms are all mandatory to search, but why would you want to miss anything in a game like this? Especially when nothing is stalking you yet. The exploration here is some of the most tense play that I've had in a game in ages, and at this point there's really nothing to even be afraid of. Eventually, we make our way further along, and the ability to look through broken mirrors to see the flares from where we had started just show us the attention to detail that the Chinese room put into their games. This world is carefully crafted to connect in a way that pushes forward the narrative while feeling like we have a real choice in how we explore. And even as I'm going through my footage, I can see areas now that I missed, because there's just a lot to take in. And when the flashlight starts to flicker, the dread picks up, wondering if it will stay off. I was absolutely terrified by the flickering, wondering what was nearby to cause it. We head in deeper, making our way out of admin before coming across an air pocket. I didn't know what to make of this when I found it. Now, you can disconnect from the umbilical, and just as you get here, your communication starts acting up, leaving you unable to communicate with the others. Now, while my experience with the game had me dreading this, I understand why Mary is here, and I know that she needs to do this. The idea, though, of a place like this was insane. She lifts the helmet to try and breathe in the air, an obvious curiosity, but she finds out what a terrible choice that was before she starts her search. Now, we're into gameplay that feels exactly like the main game. I could only imagine how the place had to smell. Given the look of the water's surface, this just had to be horrific. But Mary climbs up higher to another level while searching for answers, and I couldn't help but worry about what she may find as she heads into the next area. Now, there's water leaking into the area as we go, making the decision to explore deeper into this area even more unnerving. And the rush when I had to make a jump as the metal beam I was crawling over collapsed had my heart in my throat. After dropping out way down into a lower level, we find one of the spirals left by the shape, and Mary is clearly startled by it. It's a reminder of what really happened here, And as we move forward, it's these bits of the past that create such a powerful tension. Playing this, you're just waiting on something terrible to happen. Climbing higher, wondering if you'll fall, if something is about to break or collapse, or something worse. Mary doesn't know what she's dealing with, but if you've played through the game already, we do. The traveling here is terrifying. This tunnel feels like something carved it out. And as we go deeper, back into the rig where we see remains of the massive creature, shape, whatever it is, inside the room, it's dead thankfully, but the husk is there. And I think I remember this room, moving past this thing as it would try to lash out, but we have to keep moving. We're in marine control now, and it's upside down, making the exploration a bit disorienting as we search for the data logger.
Okay, well, this is something at least. Now back to the bell.
As soon as we grabbed it, I could feel that something terrible was about to happen. And we collapsed as something pulled us back. And that familiar flash of that plasmatic horror over the screen, before we wind up on the Isle of Skye, completely disoriented.
Let the fairies take me. Anything to get out of diving.
And before we can even move, we collapse. Waking up again in an area where we're sinking under the water, panicking as we try to get our bearings, knowing that we have to find our way back to the bell.
The bell, where is the bell from here?
Dashing as fast as we can to try to get to safety. The current pushing us forward at a frantic pace as our oxygen starting to get low. Eventually, it leads us to the end of a pipe where we can cut our way free, seeing lights and being terrified to see how much more of the rig was down deeper in this trench as we make our way back up to the bell.
Is that how much is falling down there? I've got to get there. Rob.
And from here, for a moment, I thought we were finished. I expected this to be a bit of an anticlimactic journey that was still enjoyable enough.
Approaching final depth. Halting descent. Confirm depth.
237 meters, Hans. Perfect.
Good. Let's run the checklist.
And we get up into the bell and rest. Rob's checking on us and lecturing us for running off. Mary then tells Rob about what she found, and the discussion here is intense. The desperation in Mary's voice shows how desperately she needs to know what happened on this rig. What happened to her dad? They assure Hans that they will do everything by the book, and he reluctantly agrees to help them search deeper now into the trench before they stop to prepare for the deeper ascent. Sitting in the bell with Rob was a nice break in the journey. It's understandable that Mary wants to do this, and Rob, her friend, tells her that she can go ahead and he'll smooth it over with the boss before Mary dives deeper. From here, we head back out, about to go far deeper than they had planned. She makes her way down deeper into the trench, getting a briefing from Rob before heading down in search of the crew cabins. Now, as we move, we can see so much wreckage here. It just again reinforces how massive this oil rig was, all compacted into a tight space to do a job. Now, it's just seemingly endless wreckage. As we go, we find the flare that fell, and we see a rushing current that blocks our path, leaving us to search for another way in. Now, along the way, we find some keys that were Gregor's, remembering again why we're here. Something small to give back to his family. And it's not much, but sometimes the little things like that can mean a lot. Listening to them discuss their time during this job, hearing Rob talk about other missions that he's been on adds so much sense of realism to this game. Which is really nice because things aren't too far from getting really crazy. Now, after spending far more time than I am proud of searching, I finally realized the simple way to cut off the flow so that I could proceed and head deeper into the wreckage. Moving through all this stuff, and I have to say that seeing bits of bolts, as well as floating debris like a soda can in the water, the way that the paint is cracking and peeling away because of the water's rush and the disabling, damning power of the salt water of the ocean. It's just wild to see how real it all looks. I cannot stress enough how immersive this game can be. Swimming through vents to get deeper led us to another body. Again, no idea who it is. We snap a picture and make our way deeper. As we travel, we're able to get some audio pulled up from the data logger, and it is horrific to listen to as we make our way through. Hearing the screaming as we're swimming. I can only imagine how hard this was for all of them to listen to. But now, we have to keep going. The remains feel like a maze, getting lost in them, as it's hard at times to tell what way is up or down underwater. We finally move some metal to open up a pipe. Not the best option, but better than just staying where we were as we make our way through, finding yet another air pocket.
Hey, I'm gonna do something.
Uh-oh.
I need to go up into another air pocket. The umbilical is just too unwieldy outside the water, so I am gonna detach for a moment.
Mary,
I'll be right back.
please just keep that helmet on tight.
You can hear the worry in Rob's voice, but he knows not to try and tell her no, as she makes her way into the air pocket, scaling up and along, nearly falling back into the water before pulling a switch that I was surprised did anything at this point. We then find another body, but Mary seems a bit confused and concerned over who it is, choosing to just move ahead as we make our way deeper. Crawling down more bars as we try to cross over to another area before falling back into the water, and from here, I realized that it was the same area that we started in, and I reattached the umbilical. After that, we hear another recording, and it's all jumbled together, a wild revisiting as we can hear some horrific wailing sounds. And in listening to this, we can tell just how terrifying it was for them, whatever it was.
Whatever you do, don't touch me.
As we keep going, the vent that we are in begins to collapse and we have to dash out of it. And there, the umbilical gets stuck.
Shit! Come on, you bastard! You're cutting out! The umbilical's stuck! I can't get it loose!
Our communication with Rob shuts down as we're in a room I remember pretty well from the game, and we head out to look for an exit with no umbilical, no connection to Rob, just desperation and our wits as we make our way through another cramped space. Soon after that, we do end up running into Rob, and Mary tells him that something is here, but he tries to keep her going, offering her a ton of flares as her light is starting to die.
I don't know what to do.
There's got to be something. A broken wall, a hole in the
The
ceiling.
torch keeps breaking. I can't even see.
Oh, shit.
Rob!
I have a ton of these flares. Take them. Listen, you're going to find a gap. You're going to come out. We'll have 2 weeks in decompression, and you can force me to listen to simple lines on repeat if you like.
You have to sing all the la la las this time.
Promise. Right, go on. I'll see you at the bell in a minute. Don't you forget about me, yeah?
Yeah.
After this heartfelt moment, we're alone again, backtracking and trying to find a way out, carrying flares as we swim. It's harrowing, but I felt that familiar desperation to survive, that drive to push harder as we push forward. We head into another air pocket and we can hear words from Rob, but it all sounds wrong.
Oh God, the umbilical.
And now we're being chased by something in a terrifying dash, lunging over debris to escape whatever it is that's after us before we head into the lounge. Something is very wrong here. The TV is on and everything looks the same as it did that day. Seeing the rig back in good shape as we hear voices was one of the most terrifying experiences that I had in this entire game. And now, she can hear her father, reminding me of Kaz hearing his wife's voice. But we're seeing details that Mary couldn't possibly know about.
Dad?
And she is too.
Dad? I can hear you.
We'll dive together. I've got you. Just hold on to me.
There's a disturbing feeling that washed over me as I realized that she had no way of picturing everything just as I remembered it. this isn't just a flashback in her memory, as she is so lost and scared now. She's just trying to understand where she is and what it is that she's seeing. This section took this DLC to another level, exploring the rig in its operational state, all alone with the voice of Brody echoing, brought up a somber dread within me that I'm not used to in games. I didn't expect her to find anything crazy here. I wasn't anticipating a jump scare, it just didn't feel like that's what was happening. And the mundane nature of the horror in what was clearly a supernatural situation is really what made this part of the game so terrifying. Looking in the cabins, the same old wet rig from before. Even the carpet sounded damp walking across it. Almost like Mary is dragging her feet as she enters her father's cabin. Looking around the room before picking up the framed picture. And the wash of the shape was creeping into view before we wake back up. We're in his room, but it's in a current state. Mary's tortured by this, but she knows that she has to move. She continues to push on, trying to find a way out and realizing that there's no real way for her to have gotten to where she is now. But we don't have time to think about that. We're running out of air. We have to get out of here. We stopped and picked up another relic, but by this time, we knew that that wasn't the goal anymore. Pushing deeper, I wanted to try and explore everything, but when I fell into the water, the current washed me far away from that area. I considered restarting here, but our decisions have consequences, and I wanted to be true to this journey. Try as I might, there was no turning back. We move further through the wreckage, and I am almost as ready to get out of this area as Mary is. I just want to see her get out safe. I don't want to see another Kaz situation. I want to see her succeed and live. Now we finally get out of the wreckage and can see the open sea. The flare that fell into the trench to uncover this area, I could feel my heart soaring as I swam, desperate to reach the diving bell, wanting to hear Rob chastise me for scaring him. But when we get inside, Rob isn't there.
Where the hell are you? Hans, what's going on? Rob's not in the bell. Where is he? Hans, are you there?
Hans isn't answering, and everything is being shaken and tossed about by something terrible. Mary wakes up in the bell and it's damaged and taking on water. She puts her helmet back on and heads back into the ocean, knowing that she can't stay here now. After turning and looking, the bell isn't where it was. Something is wrong. We're in a cave and have to push forward. And there, we see the siren. This thing is a remnant from a decade ago. Not everything was destroyed on that night. For all of Kaz's exploration, we didn't explore under the waves. We never found this nightmare. But here we are, hiding and waiting on an opening, dashing through pipes. The flares, at least to me, seemed to help distract this thing, but it swam around with such a hunger. The tension had me on edge, hearing it moving through the water and just hoping like hell that it didn't see me as I moved. I watched for an opening to get out of the area that I was trapped in. Now, when I thought I found an opening, I moved closer and pushed the beam aside. But no sooner do we get inside of that container than this thing gave chase. My heart was pounding so hard that I nearly thought I was going to have a panic attack. But we got away, climbing back into the wreckage and moving up through it. Anything to put some distance between me and the siren. But of course, it just led to another area with the siren hunting us. It was exciting using the surrounding debris to launch myself along faster though, propelled from hiding place to hiding place to try and get away from this creature. You know, the first time around, I felt like I was overwhelmed by everything that was happening, given a lot of recap without a lot of introspection. This time, with a bit more experience under my belt at this, and having had a year to think about this game and its story, I was sucked in and really wanted to see where the story was going to go. It felt hopeless. The dive bell wasn't even where it was supposed to be. I'd been taken between reality and the past. I wasn't sure if there was even any purpose in resisting, or if it was just another battle that had the same inevitable end. And that lack of knowledge actually gave me a glimmer of hope. It might be okay. I had to find out. Mary is determined to live, and that spirit to live kept me wanting to push ahead. We propelled through the area, and even after running in circles a few times, I felt like if we could just stay calm, we'd be okay. You can see the remnants of the shape and know that the siren is always near. But we have to be bold and take risks. We're low on air. No idea where we're trying to go, just knowing that we need to keep distance to stay alive. I was starting to really worry that if I didn't move fast, the air would run out. Between the oxygen levels and the siren, this part was so stressful. Leading to another mad dash, swimming away through the wreckage of the old Baradee to try and escape the shape, seeing flashes along the way before hitting a current that pushed us along a cave, and as we moved, the air level was dangerously low. And just as we got out of that area, seeing a structure lit up, the air was running out. And Mary began to open up about her regrets as everything slowly faded to black. My heart sank. But then,
What the?
Mary wakes up to find a door in front of her and swims to it, grabbing a hold and opening it up to head to the Isle of Skye. Turning back, the the door opens out to darkness.
Why do I keep...
And from the
Why
other
do I
side,
keep
there's
coming?
nothing there. It's a hazy Scottish day. It's raining and the fog is setting in. I wondered what was wrong here. It was peaceful. Perhaps Mary didn't make it? Could this be a dream? Afterlife? She doesn't know, but she pushes on in a very Dear Esther looking location, recognizing the platforms from her past.
But did it look like this back then? Is that you?
Dad! Dad! It's me! Hold on! I'm coming!
She sees her dad and calls to him, rushing down the path to the water's edge to reunite with him.
Please be you.
At this point, Mary wasn't thinking about him being dead, thinking perhaps she could save him. And as unrealistic as it sounds, I kinda get it. She's so desperate to have him back. Anyone who's lost a parent or child, I'm sure, can understand that feeling. Being so desperate that a slight chance that you know makes absolutely zero sense is still something to cling to. And when they reunite,
There she is.
Dad!
You found me. I knew you would. I just had to wait.
I had to get to you, I had to. I didn't expect this. Why bring me here?
Time for a diving lesson.
What?
What's the problem this time? The Floddigary fairies only come once a century to pull men under. No chance they'll come today.
she realizes
You'd have
that
to
she's
think of
lost
something.
in one of her
You might
memories.
do you if you let the fairies take
He's
me.
speaking words from a memory that she had from years ago. But still, he was there with her.
Oh my god.
Hearing him talking about her being afraid of diving,
Dad.
given her career, shows that she overcame that,
Beautiful things, man.
likely driven by the tragedy of the oil rig.
Such thing,
And then
you let it be.
she turns and sees other members of the crew standing there.
No need to disturb.
This wasn't just a memory. This was a trap by the siren. The rig was there.
Together. I've got
Memory distorted.
Just hold
This thing was manipulating her, showing Mary what she wanted, but the cracks were there. She took her father's hand, and I've heard that you can stay that way and perish. But after all that fighting to live,
I just want...
Mary had to let go. And when she did, she was dragged back by Roy, pulling her up as she has flashes of consciousness, being pulled back to the bell by her friend and partner as we fade to black on this DLC.
I'm going! I'm going! Just stay with me! Hold on, alright? No! Just hold on. I've got you. I've got you.
Now, when we were wrapping up the main game, I said that I wished we didn't have to end on such a sad note. But here, even though the ending brought tears to my eyes, it didn't feel quite as sad. More like a cold compress placed on my heart. Uncomfortable yet somehow soothing. She had that moment with her dad. Even if only a memory, And while it's left open-ended, I believe that she was actually saved by Roy. I believe that the two made it out of this disaster against all odds. This ending doesn't give us happiness, but it gives us hope. And sometimes, hope is enough. I wish I had more to say. And if I tried, I'm sure I'd come up with more. But I've taken up enough of your time. This game and the DLC are absolutely worth playing and experiencing, even if only for the story. The gameplay is fun and intuitive, but the story here, somehow grounded in reality while tinged with supernatural horror in a way that feels otherworldly yet oddly plausible. And I know that I'll end up playing this again and again. If you've made it this far, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I do my best to try and create quality video retrospectives to share my love for these games and my stories with them. And it means the world to me that anyone would want to sit here and listen and hear my stories. Because, well, we're all stories in the end. And with that said, please, make yours memorable. I'm sure you will. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.